Hello, hi everyone. Today we will continue to go over the Microsoft AZ204 question bank. Next, let's look at question 26. Question 26 is about developing a public-facing API solution. The backend is hosted in our app service, and a RESTful service has been implemented. Here it mentions that the requirement is to configure backend authentication for the API management service instance. This is actually related to previous question we discussed. There are some similarities. Yes, it's the same background, the same context. So what is the requirement for this question? In the previous question, we configured client certificate gateway credentials for our HTTPS endpoint, and that answer was correct. In this question, we are endpoint configuration basic gateway credentials. Which one was correct before? Yes. One of ours. Client certificate gateway credentials. But this question is about basic gateway credentials, which are different. So everyone should pay attention. When you encounter these two questions, make sure to read them carefully. In this case, there are several questions with the same background, right? Previously, we also encountered 3 questions in a row that shared the same background, but the solutions were different, and only one of them was correct. It's actually the same situation this time. The previous question, number 25, right? Let's take a look at the previous question, which is question 25, no problem, right? Questions 25, 26, and 27, they all share the same background, but offer 3 different solutions. Question 25 is correct, while 26 and 27 are actually both incorrect. As for question 26, basic gateway credentials have relatively low security and are not suitable for backend authentication that is open to the public, so this is incorrect. So here's the thing, everyone should pay attention to this. When you encounter questions with the same background, usually only one option is correct, and the other 2 are actually wrong. That was our question 26. Now, for question 27, the background is the same questions. 25, 26, and 27 all share the same background. But during the exam, they usually won't give you all 3. Typically, only one will appear. So when you're making your judgment, be sure to pay close attention, because the options for these questions are actually quite similar. For example, for question 25, we have, at that time, it was this one. Let's take a look. At that time, it was client certificate gateway credentials, right? Okay, for question 26, we have basic gateway credentials. And for question 27, here we go. It's a new one again. This time, the solution is client certificate gateway credentials. That's not right. Here, everyone needs to pay attention. What's the main issue here? The main issue is that the configuration object is incorrect. The question requires us to configure authentication for our API management service instance, but in the solution, what is it targeting? It's targeting our specific resources. For example, VM, virtual machine storage, rather than our HPS endpoint. So this question is incorrect. The key difference is actually that backend authentication for our API management needs to be configured in the backend resource, not just in a generic resource. It's not a generic resource. So question 27 is also incorrect. So for questions 26 and 27, both of these have issues because the correct answer is question 25, which is this one of ours. For questions with the same background, everyone should pay close attention. You really need to get the background right, and you must remember the correct answer. Any other options you encounter are actually wrong. All right, that's for questions 26 and 27. Now let's move on and take a look at question 28. Question 28 is about an issue we encounter when developing applications. It's used to query independent holiday accommodation providers. The requirement is to use our search to filter accommodation options based on price range and distance from the airport and return a list of results that meet these criteria. How should this be configured? So what is the requirement? The requirement is to search for accommodation by range and distance. So how should we filter here? First of all, what are we dealing with here? We're dealing with several different attributes. The main issue here is, what is it? Yes, the main issue is the attributes we have here are as follows. Filter attributes. These are used for filtering structured data, such as data ranges and geographic locations. Here, they directly correspond to the price range and the distance from the airport mentioned in the requirements. This is the main function of our filter attribute. As for the other options, first of all, the search mode controls the logic for fuzzy searching, including some other things, including this one of ours. We can see option B. Here, let's talk about option A one by one. It is used to control the fuzzy search logic. Option B is for specifying simple or full text search. Simple or full text search is our option B. As for option C here, it is used for group statistics. For example, counting by price segments or some issues related to non-filtering functions. As for our answer, it is the filter attribute. This attribute is mainly used for filtering structured data, specifically for data range and geographic location. So for this question, our choice is option D. This is our 28th question. It's been a long time since we've done multiple choice questions, right? Previously, there were many questions, all kinds of drag and drop questions. Everyone should pay attention to this. During the exam, the questions are all randomized. The questions are randomly generated as we go through them, so don't try to memorize them in order. Also, don't memorize the options. Don't try to remember A, B, C, or D. What you should remember is the answer itself. You must remember the answer, because the options themselves might change. This is something everyone needs to pay attention to. All right, next, let's look at question 29. Question 29 is actually very simple, right? You can see the font is very large here because there are so few words in the question. If the font were small, it wouldn't look good, so I made the font bigger. As for this question, the question is very simple. Which tool should we use if we need to edit the workflow of an existing logic app? That's the end of the question. All right, let's take a look at this tool. So first, which answer should we choose? The answer should be option D. So what is option A? Option A is our enterprise integration pack, which is used for connecting and extending connectors. It's not an editing tool. Everyone should pay attention to this. The requirement of this question is to let us edit the existing workflow. The first one, the enterprise integration pack, is used to extend connectors. It's not an editing tool. The second option is only for viewing our JSON code and cannot directly edit the logic. Option C is the API. It's used to manage API connections and has nothing to do with workflows. So only our option D remains. What about it? Well, it's our tool for visually designing workflows. It supports drag and drop triggers and actions. That's our option D. So for this question, we should choose D. So what's next? Next is question 30, another drag and drop question. For drag and drop questions, the prompts are usually quite long because the descriptions are very detailed. After the description is clear, we need to select several correct options. So let's take a look at question 30 here. The question is about developing a reservation management system for the tourism industry for a company named Blue, and it requires importing travel agency data into our index. Importing it into the index. So in this case, the steps involve using our search function to complete the data import. Which three specific operations need to be performed? Moreover, it also mentions that these three operations need to be performed in order. First, let's take a look at what specific operations are involved. And these are the specific operations for this question. So, which one do we need to choose here? The main thing to pay attention to here is what the requirements are. In addition to making a selection, it also specifies an order. And as you can see here, this question is very clear. There are three operations. If you look at the answers below, there are three blanks, right? All the answers have three blanks. So what we need to do here is fill in all the correct answers. Just drag them over. And what else should we pay attention to? Note that the first step is to create it. The first step is to create something first. Create an object to connect to the search index. So which one should it be? Create an object first. We need to select and find this object. It's here. Create a query option. At this position. So we need to drag this to the first position. Then the next step is the second step. The second step is create an index that includes adding documents. So the second step is to move the index over. Let's find the index. Here it is. Drag the index over. That's the second step. The third step is that we need to call something else, call our client, an index from the client, and pass it into our index. So the third option is our use it here. Our index put the third one here, and that's our 20th. 30th question here. Make sure to drag them in order. If you need the complete question bank, you can leave a comment below to get the most stable question bank at the best price. That's all for today, everyone. Bye-bye.